Hello? Hello? Please, I know you can hear us. We are trapped here in the spaces between worlds. It is a wonderful yet terrifying place, and only our voices escape. You can help us. You can let us in before we go mad.
It Came Out from Under the House by Todd Christensen.
Daddy! Daddy!
My twin girls burst through the door of the old farmhouse, jolting me from my slumber on the couch. I cursed silently. Damn graveyard shift. I only wanted to sit down for a minute, not fall asleep. I was supposed to be watching the kids. Damn life. It used to be a man who worked as hard as me could afford having his wife stay at home. A man could afford to buy a house, not rent some dumpy farmhouse clear out in the North 40 of what the locals called Hawker's Old Farm. The rent was cheap, however, cheap enough to offset the cost of gas for a longer commute. As long as the vehicles hold up, that'll be next, I figured.
Daddy! We saw it! It came out from under the house.
The twins stood at the end of the couch in an obvious state of excitement. I scowled at them. I thought I told you girls not to leave the house when I'm sleeping, I grumbled.
But, Daddy, we didn't leave the house. We were on the porch. That's when we saw it. It started to come out.
Izzy explained.
Yeah, we saw its tentacle. It was silver and slimy. It was gross.
Annie chimed in.
It was gray and all dirty with black wormy-looking things growing out of it.
Izzy corrected. 2 pairs of eyes bored into me in anticipation of my response to this otherworldly catastrophe. Oh, I thought, the elusive creature under the house. The stories from the girls had started about a week ago, shortly after we had moved into our new house. Apparently, it caused all kinds of thumping and other strange noises under the house after bedtime. Unfortunately, time and money had forced me to start my new job immediately. I had only spent the first night in the house, and my wife slept like a stone, so neither of us had heard this thing that went bump in the night.
It's an old farmhouse. You're just hearing the pipes rattle or things settling. All these old houses make noises at night,
my wife told the girls. Yet they remained adamant that something was living under the house.
Daddy, will you please come look? Begged
Annie.
Yeah, Daddy, please,
Izzy repeated. Amazing. Even their voices were an exact match. I couldn't resist them when they begged in tandem. I was supposed to be the heavy, the disciplinarian, but I gave in to the girls as much or more than their mother. Who could resist their pert little noses, big baby blues, and curly corn silk hair? They were the spitting image of their beautiful mother, and I dreaded their teen years. Still 5 years away, and I was already bracing myself. God, if it had to be girls, why couldn't we have had a couple of Bowsers? All right, I relented. Just give me a minute to use the bathroom.
Number 1 or number 2?
Izzy asked. I frowned. That's none of your business. Annie was quick to respond.
Well, you usually go number 1 outside. But if it's number 2, then we have time for a snack.
Oh boy, I thought. We have got our hands full. As I headed for the bathroom, I said, Go get your snack and stay inside. After a little while, I walked outside on the porch with the girls. Okay, where did you see this thing? I asked. I had had some time to think on the crapper, and it occurred to me that maybe the girls had seen something. The tail of an old gray and black tomcat, maybe a raccoon or even a snake. Our girls had vivid imaginations, but they rarely lied. Perhaps their story had just been embellished a bit.
We were over there, playing dolls.
She pointed to the corner of the porch where their dollhouse was set up. Barbie Dream Pool House. If there was ever a day for dolls to be playing in the pool, today was it. I glanced at my watch. 11 a.m. and already the day was turning into a real scorcher. I thanked God for the huge weeping willow in the yard. Most of the day the house sat cool within its shadow. I walked over to the corner and slid the dollhouse away from the railing, careful not to step on any swimsuit-clad dolls. "All right, point to me exactly where you guys saw this tentacle." Izzy immediately ran forward, poking her small hand through the latticework, her finger pointing down.
Right there.
She stepped out of the way as I moved to look over the railing. For a second I thought my own imagination might be getting the best of me, but I quickly realized that I was indeed seeing a disturbance in the yard below. The green blades of grass were flattened out, shiny and stuck together. Is that smoke? A thin wisp rose from the decaying vegetation. A dull, incessant ringing echoed deep inside my brain. Something was not right. "Okay, girls, let's go back inside for a minute."
But Daddy...
I cut them off. "No, right now." Keeping the girls with me, I ran to the bedroom. I grabbed my flashlight and .410 shotgun from the gun rack above the bed, again telling them to stay inside so I could go and check things out. My no-nonsense tone, and the fact that I carried a gun, let them know that I meant business.
Are you going to shoot it, Daddy?
Izzy asked excitedly. "I'm not even sure what it is yet. Just promise me you'll stay inside."
"We promise,"
they responded in unison. I stood a moment at the bottom of the porch stairs, ensuring the girls were honoring their vow. Satisfied, I walked over to examine at ground level what I had seen from above. My worst fears began to solidify. The grass was smoldering. The wooden latticework that lined the bottom of the porch suffered from the same toxic goo. I shined my light under the porch and saw a large round mound of dirt just to the outside of the house's foundation. A slimy, packed-down trail extended from the hole to where I stooped, gazing intently into the illuminated darkness. "What the hell?" I muttered, wondering what to do next. I decided to have a look under the crawl space. I headed for the access panel, clutching the .410 against my chest. When I got there, I carefully set the shotgun and flashlight in the grass as I squatted down to remove the square wooden door. A stale, overpowering fungal scent instantly assaulted my olfactory senses. I laid on my stomach once more, shining my flashlight's beam into an unknown darkness. The ringing in my head was immediately replaced with the no-holds-barred blaring of 5 alarm bells. A repetitious, robotic voice informed me, "This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." There were about a half a dozen or so of the same earthen mounds beneath the house, the ground around them packed down with more gelatinous trails running off in multiple directions. I struggled to silence the bells in my head and realized that I was no longer breathing, the air in my lungs robbed by the horrendous smell and what I was seeing. My mundane, working-class world rudely interrupted by something causing my brain to malfunction, something so nightmarish and inconceivable that my reality was shaken to its core. I fought against the dark invasion of unconsciousness. Concentrating on my girls was my only defense. I must protect my girls. I sucked in a huge gulp of putrid air and breathed just as something began rising out of the hole closest to me. A slime-coated mass of gray, pulsating jelly bubbled up like a witch's brew threatening to spill from its cauldron. And then, oh God, I saw a large eye staring at me from the tumbling blob of wet alien flesh. In panic, I pushed my body back from the opening, dropping my flashlight and grabbing for my gun as I sprang to my feet. I racked in a shell as a thin gray tentacle snaked out from under the house with alarming speed and wrapped around my ankle. Black worms sprouted from it. They quickly latched on and went to work. I screamed as jeans and flesh began to burn. Instinctively, I swung the shotgun down, pulled the trigger, and got lucky. A gunpowdered blackened hole tore through the tentacle. It was the creature's turn to scream as it released its grip. Its high-pitched screech threatened to burst my eardrums. I felt an exalted sense of satisfaction in hearing its pain. "Yeah, take that, you son of a bitch!" I yelled. The wounded tentacle sucked back under the house like a retreating whip. I jacked in another shell, falling to a prone position. By the greatest of fortunes, my dropped flashlight spotlighted the creature perfectly. This time I aimed, and before the bulk of the monster disappeared beneath its mound, I squeezed off another shot. I was rewarded with its piercing shriek as it sank from view beneath the ground. My moment of triumph quickly came to an end as I saw multitudes of pulsating creatures rise from their holes. Their tendrils reached out and waved in the stale, dank air. I've just kicked an anthill. They were coming for me, almost faster than I could reattach the access panel. With violently shaking hands, I flipped the metal brackets that held the board in place, knowing that it wouldn't hold long. I sprinted towards the front of the house. My scalded ankle shot waves of pain up my nerves. I was almost there when the front door flew open and my daughters ran out.
"Daddy! Daddy!"
They shouted at the top of their lungs. "Get back in the house now!" I hollered as I rounded the corner of the porch and leapt for the stairs. My wounded ankle collapsed under the weight of my body. I crashed into a heap, several feet short of my goal. Before I could get back up, the dirty bugger from under the porch appeared. Its tendrils shot out through the lattice work. I rolled away, narrowly avoiding my arm being grabbed by the sick monstrosity. I heard the duet of my twins shrieking. They stood like frozen statues, only their faces contorted with their terrified cries. "Get back in the house now!" I repeated as I lurched back to my feet. I warily watched as the tentacle reached toward me. It impossibly stretched and elongated, covering the meager distance that I had put between us. It rose above me, swaying like a charmed cobra. I was no snake charmer, but could tell it was simply timing its strike. I brought my gun up and took aim. I couldn't shoot because the girls were behind my target. A strange calmness overtook me as I spoke in a very steady, reasonable tone. "Annie, Izzy, get in the house and close the door. I have to shoot. Run to the living room and get behind the couch." My girls, God bless them, didn't waste any time. They bolted through the open door, slamming it shut behind them. I was positive that a blast of rabbit shot from the 410 would not penetrate the heavy wood, but I began counting seconds in my head, giving them time to reach the couch. I only got to 3 before the tentacle lashed down at my face. I had no choice but to squeeze the trigger. The assaulting appendage instantly snapped back in an array of exploding flesh. Ankle be damned, I fled for dear life. I cleared the stairs and hurtled myself through the door into the safety of the house. Annie and Izzy swarmed me in relief. I hurriedly hugged them before we headed for the phone attached to the wall in the kitchen. I snatched up the receiver and poked too hard at the buttons. 911. I wondered what in the hell I was going to say without sounding like a raving lunatic. It didn't matter. The line was dead. Cursing, I threw the phone and limped to the window above the sink. I opened it and slowly stuck my head outside. The phone lines running up the side of the house were severed and smoldering. I saw at least 4 of the creatures out in the yard. They were about the size of medium dogs and moved about by an unknown mode of propulsion. They simply rolled, fluidly and efficiently, their tentacle tucked away out of sight somewhere within them. Do they have more than one? I shuddered. If they did, we might not stand a chance. I quietly shut the window, my mind clicking through our options. Option 1. Grab the hunting rifle, some ammo, and head for the attic to pick them off from above. No, if they got in the house, we'd be trapped up there. And my wife, shit, what time was it? I looked at my watch, 11:15. She'd be on her way home. Option 2, time to get the hell out of Dodge. One thing I knew for sure was that I needed more firepower. With the girls close by my side, we headed for my bedroom, where I traded the 410 for a pump-action 12-gauge. I fumbled as I hurriedly loaded it to capacity with double-aught buckshot, then jammed as many of the round orange shells into my pockets as would fit. I also grabbed my large 44-mag revolver. The leather strap of its holster hung over my shoulder, lined with hollow-point slugs. The gun's 5 chambers were loaded with the same deadly projectiles. I felt a little like Rambo as I kneeled and told the twins my plan. "Listen up. We're gonna be okay, but I need you to be brave right now. Braver than you've ever been in your entire lives." Was this a pep talk for them or me? "Can you do that for me?" 2 unconvincing heads slowly nodded in unison. "Let me hear you say it," I gently prodded.
"We'll be brave, Daddy."
"Good, because we're going to get to the truck and leave."
But what about Mommy?
Izzy asked, her voice halting with emotion. Your mommy's on her way home right now. We'll meet her on the road and stop her. Daddy's going to need his hands free, so I need you girls to grab my belt and hold on. I might have to shoot, and it's going to be loud, but you can't let go, not even to plug your ears, understand?
Yes, Daddy.
They reached out and grabbed my belt. Their knuckles turned white from their grip. God, I loved our girls. I continued my instructions. We're going to walk, but walk fast. And if I holler run, you have to run. You can't let go of my belt, even if I have to drag you. You never, ever let go. You hear me?
Do you have the truck keys, Daddy?
Annie asked. My heart melted with pride. Yes, dear. I leave them in the truck.
But, Daddy, aren't you scared someone will steal it?
Izzy seemed genuinely appalled. I actually laughed, a little too loud and a bit hysterically. Thankfully, they didn't seem to notice. No, not out here. Now let's get going. Mommy's counting on you to save her. You two are going to be her little heroes. Heck, you play your cards right, she may never be able to say no to you again. How's that sound? I saw a spark of inspiration light up their wet blue eyes. Then Izzy said something I just can't make up.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go.
We stood just inside the front door, my girls obediently clutching my belt. I peeked out of the window. The nightmarish creatures motored around the front yard. A single huge eyeball rolled atop their round gray bodies. A daunting 20 yards laid between us and my pickup truck. I continued to watch as one of the deadly beasts disappeared out of sight around the corner. Without knowing where or how many others there were, I decided to move before the odds got any worse. This is it, girls. We're going for the truck. If we're lucky, we'll stroll right on through. I took a deep breath and opened the door. We sneaked down the steps and into the yard. An eerie silence surrounded us. The heat of the afternoon sun hit us, a wave trying to push us back into the false security of the house. My legs were weak, and my scalded ankle let me know that it was still there and pissed off. I heard the faint sniffles of my daughters on either side of me. Suddenly, the closest rolling blob came at us. Hang on, I'm gonna shoot! I swung the shotgun round, placed the copper-colored bead at center mass, and squeezed the trigger. The girl screamed but didn't let go as chunks of gray flesh flew into the air. Thick yellow pus oozed out of the creature's quivering, lifeless body. Our victory was short-lived. The roar of the shotgun blast garnered the attention of the others. They rolled toward us in their fluid gracefulness. Time became slow motion. My senses heightened. I was aware of everything around me. My girls hanging onto my belt, the smell of gunpowder in the air, the alien creatures rolling toward us. I heard myself racking in another round.
Daddy!
Izzy shouted. The beast on her side struck out with its tentacle. I was already moving, swinging the barrel and taking aim. Mere milliseconds before the filthy, otherworldly appendage reached us, I blasted it into dead flesh. Its sole tentacle writhed helplessly on the ground, inches away. I shot two more before I gave the command, "Run!" I ran as fast as two 8-year-old girls clinging to a belt could run. My wounded ankle was a blessing, impeding our progress enough that the girls could keep up. We were almost there when Annie's legs buckled and she fell. Izzy collapsed immediately after. "Hang on!" I yelled. By the grace of God they did, and I dragged them the last few feet to the truck. I barely had time to open the door and chuck them into the cab before I had to turn and fire my last round. Only a few lead balls struck the assaulting menace. It slowed but didn't stop. There was no time to reload or pull my pistol. In desperation, I threw the shotgun at it. The tentacle impulsively went for the sudden movement of the flying gun, giving me time to jump into the truck. Contrary to its usual behavior, my forward POS fired on the first turn of the key. Good thing it did. The wounded creature, along with several more of the ugly bastards, surrounded us and began to lash out with their tentacles. They banged against the metal sides and slapped at the windows. The girls screamed. I slammed the truck into first gear and mowed down two of the monsters. Their flesh offered little resistance and hardly a bump as my tires mashed over and exploded their bodies into eruptions of yellow viscera. Tromping on the gas pedal, I ground through gears, reaching third before the dirt of our hard-packed lane turned onto the gravel road toward freedom. As I took a right, a lone tentacle shot out and wrapped its mutant appendage around my driver's side mirror, ripping it from the door. Then we were free. The back end of the truck whiplashed violently in the gravel. The girls cried out as I almost went into the ditch. I cranked the wheel and stomped the accelerator to the floor. I looked back, but a large cloud of expanding dust swallowed up any view to be had. I prayed that someday my daughter's good memories would cover up the day's events as completely as that wonderful plume of dust obscured the nightmare behind us. I took a hard left. The solid pavement of North Creek Road replaced the gravel beneath my tires. "Okay, girls, start looking for Mommy. I think we're home free." My words of encouragement barely left my mouth before a loud thud came from the back window. The girls screamed. I dared another glance in my rearview mirror. I was devastated to see one of the creatures in the bed of the pickup. It lashed out with its tentacle, trying to shatter the glass. After a few unsuccessful attempts, it latched on with the small black worms. Like leeches, they suctioned onto the window and secreted their acidic mucus. The glass began to melt. In a matter of seconds, the tentacle was partway through. I put my eyes back on the road. Steering with one hand, I unholstered my .44, turned and fired into the intruding appendage. The roar of the revolver within the enclosed space was deafening. My ears rang and my eyes burned from the smoke of the ignited gunpowder. Somehow I still heard Annie's desperate cry,
"Daddy, it's Mommy!"
My attention shot back to the road. It was too late. I was driving way too fast. In those few split seconds of chaos, I had drifted into the oncoming lane. I woke up in hospital, hooked up to every medical device known to man. My head was heavily bandaged. My left leg, the one the thing had grabbed onto, was gone just above my knee, amputated because of the raging infection burning deep within it. The same infection held my entire body captive in its hot, unrelenting grip. The only thing that woke me from my drug-induced sleep was the pain that plagued me. Every conscious moment I would ask, "Where's my wife? Where are my daughters?" "Sir, you have been in an accident. You need rest. You're going to be okay." Then drugs and darkness. I can't be sure, but at some point I seem to remember some men who came to visit. A couple of bizarre gentlemen in black trench coats, their matching fedoras pulled down low on their foreheads. They were unusually tall, the exposed skin of their faces tinged ever so slightly blue. Large, darkly tinted sunglasses covered their eyes despite the darkness of the room. The hour was late, and I got the strange feeling no one knew they were there with me. They were asking, almost pleading with me to tell them exactly what had happened. In my fevered delirium, I was only able to mumble the faintly remembered words of my daughters. "We saw it. It came out from under the house."
The following headlines appeared in the Clark County Leader in August of 1993. Wednesday, August 4th. Horrific vehicle accident on North Creek Road. 2 dead, 2 in critical condition. Thursday, August 5th. Sightings of blob-like creatures reported in Clark County. Friday, August 6th. Names of victims in North Creek Road accident released. Entire family of 4 involved. Saturday, August 7th. Men in black in Clark County. Sunday, August 8th. Missing and melted livestock have ranchers on edge. Monday, August 9th. Bizarre incident at Hawker's old farm being kept under wraps. Tuesday, August 10th. 3rd family member involved in North Creek Road accident dies. Wednesday, August 11th. Things finally settling down in Clark County. Folks still talking about strange series of events. Thursday, August 12th. 8-year-old miracle girl survives accident. Expected to make full recovery. Friday, August 13th. Miracle girl disappears without a trace. Authorities have no leads.